Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Daniel here. Today I thought I'd like to create this video and have a conversation with universal intelligence, our soul, spirit, universal heart energy, however you like to think of it, to create a dialogue, see what's going on. I'll be using a tarot deck today and an oracle deck. All right. Let's see what the universe has to say today. Eight of Swords. Feeling trapped. Feeling stuck. Being afraid. Feeling that there are chains around us, but not realizing that we have the capacity to recognize we are chaining ourselves, or our minds have chained ourselves or the body, not recognizing its choice to free itself. Being afraid to make another mistake, to make an old mistake. Being afraid of the energy of guilt, being held down and entrapped by the energy of guilt, by past experiences of guilt that perhaps created shame, but that fear of making a choice that'll create that guilt once again, fear of making a mistake, fear of making an old mistake. Now, being trapped by mistakes that have been made, by decisions made in the collective, made individually in positions of power, right? How are we feeling trapped? How are we feeling hopeless? Let's see what else is there in this first position. Wheel of Fortune. Feeling trapped about how we're going to direct our life. Feeling stuck and enslaved to the forces of the world, of life, of society, of how things will flow. Not feeling in control and being afraid to step into our destiny. Being afraid of what lies ahead. Not knowing that we have the capacity to guide ourselves, that it will always, just like the turning of the clock of fortune, it's always going to go up and down. There are always going to be blessings and challenges. There's always going to be victories and defeats. But are we afraid to allow the natural cycle of things to flow, to move, so that we can move into our next cycle with peace? Even if it's going towards the downward turn, it's always going to come back up. But if we are learned to move into learning to ebb with peace, with surrender, with non-resistance, then the flow can come back up with more ease. Then we'll get those ideas, allow the sadness, allow the ending of things, the disappointments, the breaking apart of things, be at peace with that, so that new energy and space can come in. Good luck is on its way, but just remember not to be afraid of making the first step, reaching out for support, asking the universe the questions you have on your heart. Nine of Pentacles. This is the wisdom to balance both the material and the spiritual. We now all have an opportunity to consider our balance between the material and spiritual. And we have this opportunity now, many of us, with more time, unexpectedly so, So now we actually have an opportunity to work on the inner dynamics, what is being experienced on the inner, so that we can recognize, we can find that balance between the inner and the outer. Just like this woman with the hawk, right? Being in control of both the physical. There's a sense of trust with nature, right? In partnership with nature. Trusting that you can create your own path to your own freedom, right? Trusting that you have the capability to create a life that's sustainable in a peaceful, balanced way with nature. And you find those keys, that guidance, by allowing yourself to balance your spiritual and material life. We can all recognize the imbalances that has created too much focus on the material, on the ego, on the mind. So now we're all in this situation. We're being forced to really pay more attention. We have an opportunity to become more aware of the balance in our lives and whether we are feeling free and in control by letting go of control, not thinking we can control nature or the forces or cycles in nature, but being in control with how we choose to be in relationship with the world, with nature, so that we can find our place with it, right? Being afraid of what life will bring, of not being able to find the confidence, the peace, the space, of being your own person, of cultivating the life, the lifestyle, the career, the choices in life that is good for you and you, your ego and your heart, your body and your mind, your life and life that's around you. Okay, the middle. Feeling like you need to defend yourself, but trusting that you have strength. Part of this is feeling challenged from outside forces or even your own mind, right? The part of your mind, your ego, that's judging yourself. It's about finding that willingness to do what you know is right for you and be able to handle all the resistance to choosing that. For some, it may be family dynamics that's going to be a big challenge with parents, perhaps even a sibling or a spouse. For others is walking your own way and not being afraid of what others may think, how others may react to you choosing to be more of yourself. What does that mean? And also the inner dynamic, you being willing to follow your heart, to listen to your body, to take care and honor your body. That may go against the part of the ego or the mind or another part of yourself that likes to be in comfort, that doesn't like to change or to do work that's at first strenuous, but will provide peace, will provide joy after the fact. It wants to stay there in the old patterns. So being willing to resist the resistance within and being willing to, it's not resisting the resistance from within and not resisting the resistance from outside of you, from others, right? Trusting you have the strength, you know what you're doing, and you can kind of combat those resistance in your own way, with peace if you wanted to, with love. Developing yourself. What do you need to work on? There's a lot of potentials in you, in everybody, but everyone has unique potentials. What are those unique potentials in you, and are you willing to work on them? It takes practice, it takes time, willingness to explore. It takes cultivation of what you want to work on. So what is it? You have time now. You have more time to work on the things that you want. Are you willing to explore what it takes to create what you're curious about, what you're desiring or yearning for? Are you willing to learn from others? Never in a dogmatic way, always willing to see how others are doing what they're doing and being willing to try on things for yourself to see if it works for you, and being okay with finding your own way, but having the patience to work on it regularly. That will help to cultivate, skill and confidence in yourself, so that you recognize you are always the decider of who you are. You are the judge, right? Yes, some people like to say God is the judge, right? But it's about you kind of looking on your life and deciding what has been, what has worked, what has not. And those pieces of the inner identity and what you no longer want to hang on to, or what you're ready to let go of, right? You get to decide that for yourself moving forward, and take a look at the parts of your character that has caused you pain, or that may have caused others pain. And taking a look at that, and are you willing to make changes with yourself? Change the way you look at yourself, change the way you judge what has occurred in the past. This is the judgment card. So how are you going to judge yourself now and moving forward? Are you willing to change the judgments of your past so that you're not hating yourself or hating others or hating life, but being willing to see how those choices were made and having compassion for the pain you were in or others were in that made those choices that created pain and suffering? Are you willing to take a look at what's going on in your life, what has occurred in the past, so you can move forward and be aware of how you're wanting to move forward and who you are? Right? Working on the things you know you need to work on, right? Not resisting the resistance that may come at you from inside you or outside you, because there's no point in resisting resistance. All you need to do is learn to let it go, not take it on, send love to it, or, respond to it in a firm manner with good boundaries, but respectfully, so that you don't need to burn bridges. So that you can recognize and decide for yourself what your life has meant, what gives your life meaning, and what meaning do you want on your life? What meaning do you give yourself? Knowing that this is a decision that needs to be made, and being willing to be still. Because the decisions aren't easy. But if you allow your stillness and allow yourself to listen to that inner voice, your heart's voice, of which direction to go, and when you're ready, make that decision. Right? This is about overcoming that dynamic of indecisiveness, or of sitting back and not making a decision. Right? You want to get clear on what you want your life to be. We have that opportunity now to really take stock, take notice of what life is, And what decisions do we want to make moving forward? Pay attention to the dynamic that the mind wants to be in combat. Growing up through a culture or cultures and societies dominated by war and conflict, it's all about winning and losing, isn't it? Which corporation gets to make more money? Which country gets to win over others? Who is bigger? Who is stronger? Who gets to beat up who? Who gets to take over who? Who's more popular? Who's more right? Who's making more money? Who's more worthy? Right? In friend dynamics, in family dynamics, and work culture and spaces and dynamics, in society, how we judge this world. Is this world filled with war and conflict and winning and losing? Right? Zero-sum game. Paying attention to that so we can look at how the mind has been conditioned through conflict, through fear and love, right? This whole notion of fear and love, even that alone, do you choose fear and love? It's like a war, it's like a battle. Is that necessary? Do you want that? Do you want life to be an endless series of conflict, of battles, of struggles? Right? Do you value victory over loss at the detriment of what? At the cost of what? Conflict? Right? The way I see this is like we are souls that came to learn. What are we here to learn? Are we here to learn compassion, love, forgiveness, surrender, kindness? The power of our choices? Are we here to learn to combat, to gain victory over others, to be the greatest, to be validated as the best? It's like these souls, all these men, they're like practicing. They started out practicing in order to improve their skills, but they lost themselves in the heat of combat to all those things generated. And now they're in real conflict. They've lost track that they were here to help each other, to improve. They've gone into being in real conflict with each other. Is that true for the human race? Have we lost touch with who we are together? And now are we at combat with everything around us, with Mother Nature, with the media, with politicians, with people of a different color, people of a different class, people of a different temperament, of different tastes, right? So we can really take a look at these and how we can start to honor these energies that come in, right? And what is the choice when conflict comes in, right? What is the choice when our minds wants to take a comparative or a combative or a zero-sum game dynamic or perception, right? What happens when there's tough decisions that need to be made? Two challenging roads, those dilemmas. It's not easy. It takes time. Peace is not an easy thing when the world has lived in conflict for so long. Same with our inner experience of ourselves. Peace in our hearts, peace in our minds is not easy if you've lived in combative dynamics for years, decades, half a lifetime, almost a full lifetime. Let's see what the Oracle has to say for us here. Love, share, perspective. What does that mean for you? Think on that. Love. Are you willing to love? So many of us have been so hurt, many in childhood, that we've lost the courage to keep loving, even though those efforts may not be reciprocated. Share. Yeah, what is our destiny? Is that to share with each other ourselves, our truth, who we really are, our gifts, our own creative abilities? Where do we want to go together? Perspective. What does success mean for you? What does love mean for you? What does a good life mean for you? What's currently happening mean for you? Do you have a perspective of yourself as a person that is free, a person that is in a healthy interdependence with what's around, right? People, nature, materials. Is there a balance? Embrace, right? Part of what helps to let go of resisting, say, people resisting you making your own choices, is learning to embrace them, right? Recognizing those, say, family members or friends who try to talk you out of taking a leap of faith, right? Having compassion for them and recognizing most likely they're speaking from a place of fear, from their own traumas and their own disappointments, if you will, right? Learning to embrace that's part of them that's speaking from that place, right? But first, embracing yourself. Once again, I speak about the inner dynamic, you resisting your own inner calling. Take a look on your life, and when have you followed your heart and when have you been following your mind or your ego? That the identity that was created, conditioned, formed through the opinions of others, through your perceived opinions of others, media, TV, learning to embrace yourself, learning to embrace, the part of you that was hurting yourself, so you can recognize that dynamics happening in all humans. And when someone's trying to prevent you from doing something that frees you, there's a lot of fear behind that, and being willing to have compassion for that. For me, learning what your gifts are so you can be in service to your gifts. Be in service to yourself with your own gifts of learning to love yourself, learning to create, the things that bring you joy and bring you the experience of love, loving your hands, loving creating with your hands, and sharing that with others, right? What is that for you? When you allow yourself to learn what is and cultivate the things that are good for you, you will naturally find or have an increased desire to be in service to others because you've learned to love yourself. So that then through that you recognize, oh, love is meant to be shared. Love is in a huge part is being in service. All the experiences love you've received, were those people not in service of you, loving you? What is that for you? Loving service. And are you willing to learn how to create that in your life? It may be first as just a hobby, but that may become your life as you move forward. Be willing to ask. Be willing to ask yourself. Ask to see. Ask to hear. Be willing to ask your mind, your imagination to show you, right? How do you see yourself? How do you want to see yourself? And then make the choice to see yourself in the way that you want. So that choice can help you, give you the opportunities and the choices to be made in order to move towards that. Surrender, right? When there's a tough decision to be made, be willing to let it go so it comes to you. Let it all go so that you have space for it to come in, right? Surrender to your inner wisdom, your inner intelligence. Surrender to the inner call of your heart. Acceptance. Accepting that so many are still playing the zero-sum game. Accepting yourself for going back there. By the zero-sum game, I mean someone wins and someone loses, and always trying to win, that struggle of wanting to win and judging the so-called losses. Oh, my sister got more than me. My parents love this sibling more than myself, right? However that's one little example. Acceptance that a lot are still playing in that game of wanting to overcome, wanting to have more than others, right? Accepting so you can recognize you get to make a different choice with yourself, for your life. And progress. It's about making progress at recognizing conflict is necessary for how traumatized we are as a collective, individually, collectively, societally. There's a lot of traumas going on, right? We're all beginning to recognize the inequalities that led us here to this situation, right? How many people in positions of power did not choose to do the right thing that created a movement that caused, everyone to have to really look at all of our choices and all the decisions, because we're all influencing each other. And being willing to make progress in that, right? Being willing to end the conflict in yourself, with yourself, first and foremost. It's tough. It's not easy. There's so many judgments, so many points of views, right? And everyone wants to be right. That right there is challenging, right? Would you rather be right, or would you rather have love in your life? Sometimes that is a choice. There we go. Well, hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you got some good things out of it. One of the things for me is just being willing to share the fact that there is a force, an intelligence that's operating, that's, perhaps greater than any one particular individual's force or intelligence. We are far greater together than the sum. So why not learn to let go of the zero-sum game, to recognize we all get to win. We all get to win by choosing that in ourselves, first and foremost. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, if there's any topics you'd like me to do a reading on, or if you are curious about receiving my support or guidance, feel free to contact me. Have a good day.